Hi, good morning. Welcome to Solar and Storage Live in London. I'm Sean Collier, the country manager for Solis. It's nice to meet you all, and unfortunately you couldn't join us, so we're going to give you a little introduction as to what we're doing here at Solar and Storage Live in Birmingham. And it's the first day, with one of the first hours of the show, and we have a fantastic team here in Solis UK. I'm going to take you around the booth a little bit. We're going to have a customer interview shortly, but stay tuned, we've also got a promotion coming at the end. So thanks for joining us today. The UK market is super important for Solis. I've met many of you in the market, but if this is the first time that we're going to meet, it's nice to meet you. Solis is super important, not just because we're one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. We've got a very, very large footprint in the UK market in terms of sales, in terms of service. The sort of team size is pretty big here. And that comes down to the fact that inverters are a highly technical product, and it requires a lot of effort for the UK market. Give you an idea of the UK market right now, it's pretty good, it's pretty busy. C&I market is incredibly strong, the residential market is incredibly strong, and the whole market is really pushed by the high energy cost in the UK, and it's essentially the whole market right now is focused on good quality solutions, and we make a lot of those solutions from hybrids through to string inverters, which we'll show you today. And we've got a nice little customer to interview as well to show you just some of the benefits. But for now, I'm going to give you a couple of key facts about what we do here at Solis. We have a market share that's pretty big for the UK market. In the last 5 years, we've supplied around 3 gigawatts of UK products, which is a huge amount. It equates to a lot of installers, a lot of customer care efforts, all provided through our Liverpool customer care team. So I'm just going to walk around the booth now and show you, introduce you to one of my colleagues actually. He's Matt McCrimmond, and he's one of our product specialists. So Matt's going to be on the stand for the next 3 days. If you've got any questions, come and talk to us. But I'm going to hand over to Matt, who's going to talk to you a little bit about one of our good customers.
Hey, thank you. Hopefully that was insightful for you guys. We're here today with Gary. Gary, to the people out there listening, can you introduce yourself and your company?
Yeah, so I'm Gary Brandwood from Perfect Sense Energy. We were founded back in 2010, so we're celebrating our 15th year this year. We're a commercial-only rooftop installer, so we've never got involved in the domestic market. And we've now got over 300 systems installed with Solis inverters across over 700 devices. So we've been using Solis for quite a number of years now. We've got 25 people in the company, and we're going strong, continuing to grow. Excellent.
Well, you just mentioned there actually you're 15 years in the game. I mean, that's a pretty good steed there. Also, we're 20 years celebrating ours this year, so it's really good to see longevity from a well-established company. So that's amazing. In terms of yourself personally, did you just start in the solar industry with Perfect Sense, or was that something you were brought into?
Yeah, well, I had a previous career in financial services up till 2010 after university, and I was part of the cooperative group. And in 2008, they were a solar pioneer as an end user, so they put solar on 3 vertical elevations of the office block that I was working in. That was delivered by Solar Century using sharp bespoke panels, and I was working in the building at the time, so I kind of got interested in the solar technology at that point in time. I decided in 2010 to change careers, and that's when the feed-in tariff was being launched in the UK. And I could see from my background in financial advice that there's going to be a really good return on investment for clients as well. So I decided to really chase down that career.
Amazing. But in terms of so obviously you started not from an electrical background where we see most companies sort of develop from. You've obviously then built a team, which I have the pleasure of working with on a day-to-day basis. So the guys like Ryan and Cameron. So from my perspective, what I find really interesting, and a really interesting question to yourself is, we look at the solar industry as a whole, and we see that we need to grow the number of employees we have, and it's not just the electricians, it's financial sides of it, marketing sides of it. You've also built a really good team. So how did you find that, or were you lucky? Was it a luck thing exercise, or do you think you have a good eye for a good person?
I think we are lucky with the people that we've got. A lot have been self-developed. So we've got a couple of guys that are on the solar PV design side and tech side, which is Ryan and Cameron. We've also got in-house AC electrical designers as well. They've got electrical qualifications and backgrounds. So Matt and Andy Woodward, they're both working very closely together to specify the right kit for the right building, for the right integration, and make sure that we're obviously compliant with regards to parallel generation and those kind of regulations that we need to comply with. But Cameron and Ryan are both homegrown talent, so they both started as apprentices with Perfect Sense, both in kind of digital IT monitoring, and then they've got to know the systems inside out, and they help with every aspect, pre-construction, the survey.
So it's quite good from that side. You've taken them from the sort of early stages of their career, developed it in-house, and then have stayed obviously loyal within the company. And then obviously from my side, it's obviously a pleasure to work with the guys. And as I said, we do talk on a regular basis, so it's pretty good.
Mix of experience and homegrown talent is the way to go. It's got to be.
For sure. And I think you've done an excellent job. So I just wanted to make that highlighted there. Looking back following on from my highlights to your company, is there any highlights from you in terms of the solar industry you've seen since your 15 years in the game?
Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of ups and downs. Obviously, people call it the solar coaster, and we've been around that long to see all those peaks and troughs of the industry. I think one of the highlights has been we bought our first HQ in 2018, refitted it, moved in 2019, and we thought that was a kind of 5-year move. Obviously, the energy crisis kicked in around 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And we just boomed. So we trebled turnover in 2 financial years consecutively. So we went from 1 million to 3 million to £9 million in 3.
Which has its own challenges anyway. You can effectively grow too quickly.
Absolutely.
So to have to manage that.
Absolutely, that was one of the booms that we had to deal with, and we outgrew that building within 2.5 years. So we again had to start looking for extra space, and then we bought another HQ in 2023. So it's been a lot of ups and downs, but we adapt, and we
so you do it. That's why we're here. In terms of, obviously, you've been using Solis for a long time. We've had a personal relationship. You've had a personal relationship with a number of people within the company. So for me, it was even before I'd started at Solis. So I just want to kind of get a bit more detail on you. So, like, what was attracted to you for Solis as a brand, first of all, and then from a technical specification, is there anything there that would help you choose Solis over another?
Yeah, I think we've been using Solis for over 10 years now, so I think around 2015-ish that we started using Solis, and I think from a commercial point of view, it's got to be a good balance between the quality and the value of the pricing of the kit, and also we've decided very early to make sure that everything that we do has a 10-year warranty. So the ability to extend warranties to 10 years quite easily at relatively low cost was a big factor in our decision to make Solis our core offering. Again, we work with CGen and CCL over those years to source those products.
But 10 years,
they're always reliable, they're always available, and constantly evolving.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years is a long time to be using a brand. So I know from my time within the company we've evolved. So you probably get a better overview than myself. So how have you found the process of dealing with Solis back in 2015 through to 2025?
Yeah, I think from a support point of view and from a technical point of view, I think there was one employee in the UK at the time, that was Sandy. Now you've got over 20 people in the UK, and the support is really increased. So obviously that's with your growth, and the support has developed over that time. Obviously no product's perfect, there's sometimes firmware issues, sometimes other issues, but having the support there and having a direct line for our guys to speak to people in the UK, it's been the difference really, and the reason that we've stuck with Solis as our core offering.
That's an amazing testimony. Thank you very much for that. In terms of like your installs, you must have had an array of some really interesting projects. Have you any that you'd maybe like to highlight?
There was one particularly challenging one for electrical distributor, electrical switchgear company Hager. So we did a first phase of solar for them, 2022 I think it was, 100 kilowatts on the warehouse. That was a very straightforward easy installation. But then when we were looking at the factory next door, that was a phase 2 and it was a bit more complex.
So they wanted to see how the first phase worked first before they invested further into the industry?
They wanted to give the German HQ the peace of mind that it did what it said on the tin, and it produced what we said it was going to produce, and the savings fed through to the bills. So they trialled that, got 6 months worth of data, which was bang in line with our PV Sol projections and what we said. And then they moved on to the factory, which was 450 kilowatts extra. The site has a HV loop, so two transformers and 3 or 4 different low voltage panels. And we had to kind of integrate the warehouse with the factory.
And that had the export limit in also?
Absolutely, and it was at the time when the G100 issue 2 regs were coming out, and we had to prove with a witness test that the Solis kit was able to manage that within the right parameters. So it was one of the first ones we did under that regulation, so it was quite a challenge at the time.
Well, that's pretty cool, because we get a lot of installers contact me directly specifically for like those type of installs, so it's good that we've not had to speak to you about that, because you've actually managed to do that in-house. So that's awesome. In terms of your clients, obviously we've got Solis Cloud. How does that work with your client? Are you a fit and forget company, or how do you treat your customer base?
No, we're definitely not fit and forget. We offer an end-to-end service and lifetime service on the product. So we operate a quarterly performance reporting schedule for everything that we install, and that's free for the first year. And then we do a 12-month annual inspection.
Is that industry standard, or is that something that you felt like you had to develop for your company and best for your client?
To be honest, I don't know what other companies do, but we feel it's the right thing to do. You know, if people trust us to install, and they're investing often hundreds of thousands of pounds with us, then we need to show that we are delivering what we say we're going to deliver. So quarterly performance reports are really important. We obviously look at it daily on the Solis Cloud and make sure that it's in line with what we need. And if any alarms trigger off about lost communication or whatever, we can deal with them straight away. But we find that looking after the client for that first year, we then offer an operational maintenance contract beyond that. And we've got an after-sales manager, Emily, that contacts the clients and puts that in place. So we want to look after people for that entire guarantee period at least for the first 10 years to make sure that the system is paid for itself.
And hopefully that naturally leads to like repeat business and obviously stands you in a good stead. So
yeah, absolutely. So we always get referrals. There's a lot of our clients come back for a phase 2 or a phase 3.
Excellent.
So looking after them is an investment, not a cost as far as we're concerned. So
amazing.
We try and do that as well as we can.
So in terms of perfect sense, what's your future? What do you see? What do you see in the next immediate future, and then sort of longer term? What are you in terms of industry trends, etc.? Are you seeing anything there?
Yeah, I think we're getting more and more inquiries about battery storage, both from a retrofit basis and for new installations in the future. So we made a decision 3 or 4 years ago to install export power managers on every site, irrespective of whether they needed to be limited or not. So we've been gathering the data about how much of the power generated on the roof is self-consumed and how much is exported back to the grid. So we've got that data. We can now inform our clients on a very data-driven, informed basis as to whether or not battery storage is going to work for them and how much it's going to benefit from them financially and carbon saving wise. So from next year and on, that will be a much bigger part of our business going forward.
It's a really interesting concept you just mentioned there, because actually it's something we kind of bang the drum about installing. Although it's an export power manager, it does have the additional functions to see your load profiles and see what you're using, when you're using, etc. So that is amazing actually, and it's really good that you brought that up. You would think you would read my thoughts with how I talk to customers there, but
we call it an enhanced power manager to our customers.
Okay.
So yeah,
I think we need to get the marketing team on that one. I think so. Listen, thanks very much. Just before we tie this off, is there anything you'd like to share with the guys out there, any installers out there, about maybe even the show today or this week? Any hints, tips you'd like to go?
No, I think you just got to get down here. I think it's a not to miss event, obviously, in the calendar. Loads of great talks, loads of great panel discussions.
And you guys have a stand here also?
We've got a small booth in the meet the installer area, so yeah, we're on SU92. So if anyone wants to come and have a chat, we welcome that. So we work with direct end users. We work with partners who introduce their clients to us to deliver solar, and we work for contracting type new builds and refurbs as well. So each of our partner channel managers are here, Andy, Matt and Dan. So come down and have a chat.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, Gary, absolute pleasure talking to you, and I'll let you dive back to your stand and get the guys, get them a coffee.
No worries.
Cheers,
Great.
Gary. Thank you. Thanks. That was Gary from Perfect Sense. Absolutely amazing. Really good customer of ours. Really thankful he took the time to come out and talk to us. One thing we need to note is make sure you stick around. We have an exciting offer at the end. So what we're actually going to dive into is a bit, we touched on Gary's conversation there a bit. We'd like to talk about the commercial storage aspect. So this year, at our stand, C60, you can come along, you can actually see our new 125 hybrid. I'm just going to pass you on to our wonderful product manager for Europe, Travis.
Thanks, Matt. So, Matt, we're here with the Big Daddy, the 125K, 80 through 125K hybrid. And we're live here, so we might have a few mistakes. But, one thing I wanted to ask you, because you are product solutions for UK, so you are really
And Ireland.
the expert, and Ireland, I know Ireland. You're the expert here in this territory, and this product was designed for Sweden, actually for the FRR,
Frequency response.
frequency response market. And so I'm going to ask you this question, and then underneath those questions, we'll answer some sub-questions of that basic question, which is it made for the UK? Is this product good for the UK, and can you use it here?
Yeah, well, certainly from our aspect on the pre-sale side, what we're actually seeing is a lot of inquiries already for the product. It's not even on the market, so we are doing a lot of discussions with installers for this product specifically. What we are seeing is we released our 50 kilowatt hybrid, and it hit the market around January last year. Since then, we're seeing a lot of parallel systems, so we're seeing like 2, 3, 4 inverters in one system. So where this will take, it will sort of navigate that away, so you can actually just install one inverter as opposed to multiples.
Right. Now, some basic questions, because this thing is so big. Customers have already asked me today, is there a battery in this? And I was like, I'm trying to explain to them that no, and I think maybe we should start in a basic, like what's a hybrid inverter, and how does this product function? Yeah,
well, to answer your simple question, no, there's not a battery in this, although it is extremely large. To answer your question, what a hybrid is basically where we take multiple sources, so hence the name hybrid, and then basically use it for energy generation. So we have a DC side, so on the DC side you can actually use our PV inputs and then also our battery inputs. Because we have a DC circuit behind it, it does mean that we can actually install like a lot more PV sides, so that's actually quite an interesting point. We can actually do up to 200% on this. So
what does that mean as far as...
what's that in real money? So
how much PV can you put on 125?
Well, you obviously have to still work within the limits of the MPPTs, the voltage and currents, but theoretically, if you have the right panel match, you can actually do 250 kilowatts on our 125.
That's an enormous amount of power.
Yeah.
Now, can you export 250 to the grid?
No. So what we are limited to is the actual nameplate of the inverter. So on the AC side, you can actually only ever produce 125 kilowatts.
What do you do with the other power?
So if your battery has the SOC capability, so if we have a low enough SOC, then the DC circuit that we mentioned earlier on, it can actually utilize the PV from that side, and then at the same time export 125, so you can actually utilize more of your generation.
Okay. Now, this is part of the Solarator series, so it has that gen port. Is that being utilized here at all within the UK, Northern Ireland, and Ireland?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't see it being much of a need in the commercial market, but actually the more that people are seeing this product, the more we're marketing it, we're actually getting more and more inquiries. So Specifically, we're having more off-grid actually. People are looking at actually off-grid installations, which is crazy, and I love it. We're also getting customers that have backup generators on site. We've seen that more and more, where usually they would use our DRM port on our commercial inverters, so we'd basically stop the generation. Whereas in this inverter, we can actually use that as part of an integrated system.
I see. And can the generator actually charge the batteries?
Of course. So it's used for like extended backup. We also have other options as well. We're not limited to putting the generator onto the gen port. We can also do it on the grid side if we use like an automatic transfer switch. But we can do that also. So there's a kind of different ways we can actually integrate into our system. But the limitations to generator is it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So you can only pull the nameplate of the inverter from the generator.
I see. Now there's another port here, or I guess there's a backup port too, right? So how much can we put on the backup?
Well, all our inverters, so all our hybrid inverters have a backup port on them, right. Excluding our AC coupled. But all our hybrid inverters, they have backup ports, and they are limited to the nameplate of the inverter. So if you have 125 kilowatt, you can actually put 125 kilowatts backup.
Can I do 400 kilowatt backup?
Of course you can. So we're not limited by the inverter itself, because we can actually parallel them. So we can actually create like up to 10. So we can actually do on this over a megawatt on backup.
Nice.
Which is insane.
That's crazy. So again, we have this Solis AI that we always talk about, but can you utilize that within the UK market, Northern Ireland?
So the AI feature is mainly used in the residential market just now, predominantly because of dynamic tariffs. So we're only really seeing dynamic tariffs with Optimus Agile. We're not seeing dynamic tariffs yet on commercial scale, but talking within the industry, there is an expectation that we're going to see more dynamic tariffs on the commercial side. What we do have though is that we do have some people that have like cheap rate energy, so they may have like cheap rate through the night, and on this SOC on it, so you can set it to like a max level. So that means like in the summertime you don't want to charge your battery full, and then the sun comes out, then you have nowhere for the PV to go. So you can actually set that to whatever value you want. So that could be 60%, and then you get 40% when the sun comes up to charge your battery.
So if the market changes, then we'll be ready for it, basically.
100% we'll be ready. The feature is there. It's just a case of how it works with the dynamic tariffs is we need to be able to API the information in.
Right.
Once we API the information in, it's just about AI working out what the best calculations are for you. So it's that part that's missing. It's not the functionality in the inverter.
I understand. Now, we've been in this market one of the longest now, maybe 20 SMA, a little bit longer, but some of them are already exiting. But we're still a staple here in the UK and Ireland and Northern Ireland. And there's a ton of Solis inverters installed. Like, is there any use case for this product with those old systems?
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned that, because we were just talking to Gary there at Perfect Sense,
okay.
And he mentioned that he installs our export power manager.
Yeah.
In every install, even if there's not an export limitation, and then it means that the customer can actually look at their site, understand their site generation, where the energy is going, how much they're exporting, right. And then from that make a decision whether or not to install an inverter. But that's just on those side of it. Say an inverter manufacturer left the market and the customer's repowering their site, or there's an issue with their inverter, then they can actually replace the inverter with a hybrid. So they don't actually need to have a battery, which is quite interesting. You can actually select no battery on it, and then you can install the meter, and then the meter can then monitor how much export you've got, and then at that point down the line you could then add battery storage. Furthermore to that, this inverter actually has 2 battery ports on it, so if you can, I don't know if you can quite see it clearly enough underneath, which means that you can actually install 1 battery, so 1 BMS, 1 battery connected to 1 port, and then say you wanted to expand that storage at a later date, then you can use the 2nd battery port.
That's nice. But does it work alongside, say, you have another brand like a Huawei or Sungrow?
Yeah, so that's also a very good point. Not only is this a hybrid inverter, although we say it's a hybrid inverter and it has DC inputs for solar, you can actually use this as an AC coupled, so it means you can actually install the inverter as its own.
Yeah.
When we talk about the gen port, what's really quite misleading almost is that it's not a gen port as such, it's actually a smart port because it has 3 functionalities. So one of the functionalities is the AC coupling. So if you have a third-party inverter, you can actually install it into the inverter, which will then register on Solis Cloud, so you'll be able to monitor what the external PV system's doing.
Nice.
But what's really important to note of that is it's a 1-to-1 ratio again, but we're only ever capable of pushing out the nameplate of the inverter on the AC side. So what that does mean is that if you had a 100 kilowatt X inverter,
Right.
and then we had PV on ours, our inverter would monitor what's coming through the inverter, because we can't control that inverter, we can only control our inverter. It will reduce the power output from here to make sure that the nameplate is never exceeded on the
Super flexible.
super flexible. So sometimes that works for installations, and then other times people maybe want to install the other system on the grid side,
Yeah.
and then it means they can install a meter, and then they can actually monitor the third-party PV system on Solis Cloud. So have this inverter, you're not limited to the nameplate, you have the both on the grid tied side. Again, if that's maybe not coming across quite clearly, we can talk through that at a later date.
Okay. And any batteries that you recommend or anything?
Yeah.
It's kind of like what's available at the distributor. So what kind of capabilities? Can we do 2 different batteries?
Yes, yeah, because it's 2 separate BMSs, you can actually do 2 separate batteries effectively. What I would say is if you are going to do a parallel system, it's always best to try and keep everything as equal as possible. So same brand, same capacity, same brand, same capacity.
Okay, makes sense.
So that has to be like that. And that's just for making the decision making in terms of when it charges and discharges. One question you did ask is, our distributors have their own selection of batteries, so you can select that. We do have a compatibility list available on our website, which you can go along, you can see which models are compatible with us. And just a kind of brief exclusive, we will have an offering for our inverters. We will bring a cabinet.
That's exciting.
That's very exciting. We've not mentioned that before to anyone, so we're dropping it live here at Solar Storage, and then we're not saying any more of it.
Right.
We're done.
So I think I'll ask the audience at home, if you want to write in the comments what features are important to you, please tell us so that we can implement those features. And we love the feedback. What about, we have some promotions going on. Do you want to talk about that before we say goodbye?
Sure. Well, we have teased them the whole live, to be fair.
Okay.
We've been teasing them, haven't we? So we'll take a walk over to our 50 kilowatt. Does that work? We're turning like a submarine, but we'll get there. Excuse me, man. So we've got a 50 kilowatt hybrid. I mentioned earlier on, we released it sort of January last year. We have had huge success. The volume we're supplying into the UK is massive. We're getting great feedback from the customers who are installing it. And what we've decided to do is put our money where our mouth is. We're now going to have an offer for the first time you use our inverters, our 50 kilowatt hybrid inverter. On the first order, you can do up to 6 units. You'll get a discount code from us. Links in the description. You fill out the form. You then get contacted from one of our sales team. We'll then issue you a code, and then you can go to one of our distributors. So that's CCL, CGen, or Greentech. They're all at the show today, so you can, if you are coming along this week, you can go and talk to them. We do have some QR codes across all the tables. You can handily get one there. They'll be on tables, so you can scan it for the code or scan it for the form to fill in. We'll issue once we issue the code, you can then go to the distributor, any distributor, and even if the order's only 3, I would buy 6 because we're allowing you to buy 6.
Exactly.
Why would you not do that? So buy 6. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. So you get up to 30% discount. But speak to your distributor, and they'll be able to sort that out for you. So again, Travis, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great.
Pleasure.
It was a good time.
Yes.
And come by, have a coffee, come join, come have a
C60.
discussion. C60, right?
C60.
Yeah. And thank you again.
Thank you.
I think we covered that.